daily lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning back in this evening. With that, we're going to start our nightly report for April 27th of 2022 on the ongoing crisis unfolding in Ukraine. Again, really nice to see so many familiar faces tuning back into the stream this evening, as well as a few new faces as well. Andy, thank you so much for tuning in here. Keenan, thank you so much for tuning in here. J-Dub, nice to see you back. Doug Wilson, thank you so much for tuning in. Darren, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Again, Cindy, thank you so much for tuning in. Mass Fright, Emperor, Doug, everybody that's tuning in tonight, I would like to give a quick shout out to all of our mods in the live chat as well. Fancy Hat, thank you so much for tuning back in tonight. Not sure if Tango Down is present right now. I know we have a few mods, I think, hanging out in the chat. Fallen Rays, I know you're in there somewhere. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Dirk, thank you so much for tuning in. Josh, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a pretty busy night to bring you guys here. We have a pretty busy reporting schedule here for this evening. We're going to get everybody caught up on what's been going on for about the past 12 to 24 hours, as usual. We're going to start by listing the main headlines for this evening from a variety of different sources. And then we will, of course, switch over to our Situation Room over in our community Discord server to take a look at some of the community aggregated reporting for this evening. Again, thank you to everybody that has contributed to those reports over the last 24 hours. Again, I've had just in the past half an hour to hour here, I've had a few of you send over PMs my way with some reports and some information. So again, I'll be bringing that stuff to you guys as well. After all that is said and done, we're going to take a jump over to our open source intelligence maps, live UA map, map hub. We'll look at the naval radar, we'll look at our flight radars, and we'll get kind of a fix on everything that's going on currently right now in both our airspace and on the waters there in the Black Sea. We'll also take a look, of course, at all of those troop movements that are occurring in and around Ukraine. Again, unfortunately, the conflict in the east is looking to ramp up significantly. One second here. That is our 8 p.m. alarm actually just went off for the Ukrainian anthem there. But I paused that. Of course, that will be back after the show when our 24/7 cam stream goes back online. Again, I'd like to just quickly thank everybody that's tuning in this evening. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button. It's the best way to get the algorithm's attention. With that, we are going to start tonight's reports, again, by going through our main headline topics for this evening. Again, the conflict in the East ramping up, especially over the past 24 to 48 hours. I reported on a lot of that last night. Again, today, Russia, the big breaking story today is, again, Russia has halted the supply of gas to Poland and Bulgaria. Again, I reported on this last night when the news broke that it was officially set in stone that they were going to be shutting off that gas supply. Western leaders are calling it blackmail. Again, a Russian state-run energy giant Gazprom confirmed it suspended the gas shipments over the country's failure to pay in Russian currency, the ruble there, which has been having a pretty rough time since the beginning of the war. The Kremlin began requiring this of European importers in response to sanctions and in a bid to prop up the ruble, again, which has been in a decline since the war broke out. Bulgaria imports almost all of its gas from Russia, and Poland roughly half. Both countries said they were setting up alternative gas sources and could tap reserves. Again, this comes as a lot of European countries have looked to diversify their fuel imports to kind of move away from Russian gas. Now, again, Russia is shutting off the gas flow officially now. They have shut it off to Poland and Bulgaria. They have officially halted the flow of that fuel there. Ukraine's defense ministry believes Russia plans to establish a new breakaway government in the southern city of Kherson. Again, this comes as they emplaced their own city council recently. They've also been looking to instate a what some are calling a kind of a false referendum, a false vote there in that city of Kherson. Local authorities say Russian forces dispersed a pro-Ukraine rally in the occupied city and appointed a Russian-backed mayor. The United Nations said its humanitarian office is mobilizing a team to coordinate an evacuation of civilians from the besieged steel plant in the occupied city of Mariupol. Again, that steel plant is the last remaining holdout for not only Ukrainian forces but a small group of civilians that were taking refuge in that steel plant alongside those Ukrainian forces. Again, really quickly, just like to say hello to everybody tuning in this evening. Thank you, guys. Hugo says, Nemico, hi from Los Angeles. SLAVA UKRAINI, hello to you, Hugo. Thank you so much for tuning in back in this evening. Again, it's really awesome to see so many new and familiar faces tuning back in here. Russia and the U.S. have exchanged prisoners, swapping U.S. Marine veteran Trevor Reed for Russian pilot Konstantin Yoroshenko. Reed was convicted on charges of assaulting Moscow police officers in 2019. In a trial that U.S. officials described as, quote, a theater of the absurd, Yoroshenko was convicted in 2011 for conspiring to import cocaine into the United States. Russia, in a report earlier today, said a series of blasts hit targets in Russian provinces bordering Ukraine. Again, last night's reports we reported on that ammunition depot that had been struck there, in I believe that was Belgorod. Russian officials again have also reported a fire at that ammunition depot in the region, and an intercepted Ukrainian drone, adding new accusations that Ukraine is carrying out attacks along its border. Ukrainian officials say the Kremlin is trying to inflame public opinion in support of its war effort. Again, we've seen over the past few weeks here, they've issued increases in what they're calling terrorist threat levels in places like Belgrade, Russia in general, along the borders with Ukraine. In Belarus, we saw that activity, and in Crimea, we've seen that activity. And now, more recently, we've also seen that activity in Transnistria, that Moldovan breakaway region that I've showed you guys a few times on the show. We've talked about it quite a bit here. Hold on, let me see if I can get this page to. Doesn't want to respond to me, so I'm going to have to refresh that. Again, that Moldova breakaway region is in the west there. Here, I got it on screen here for you guys. You can see that breakaway region there. We've had that same kind of, that rhetoric increase there, and now we've seen it followed through with these strikes. And so it's not just Transnistria we've seen that, but we've seen it in many of these different areas around Russia as well. Belgorod is one of the most notable here at that ammunition depot. Kiev, again, has demolished part of its famous monuments symbolizing friendship with Russia. I showed you guys actually a video of that last night in our nightly report. Workers have dismantled a bronze statue of two men jointly raising up a Soviet Order of Friendship, which has stood under the titanium People's Friendship arch in the city since 1982. The arch itself will remain in place, but will be painted in Ukraine's national colors of blue and yellow, and renamed the Arch of Freedom of the Ukrainian People. Again, I showed you that video last night of the head being toppled off of that statue, and a pretty cinematic video there that we saw of, again, them decapitating that statue, again, tearing down that monument of Russian and Ukrainian unity, again, which has definitely been shattered by this bloody and unfortunate war. Again, Fancy Hat just alerted me that I'm once again using the term lost night instead of last night. Again, sorry about that. Thank you for bearing with my occasional lack of pronunciation. The Biden administration receives over 4,000 applications to sponsor Ukrainians in the United States. Again, more than 4,000 applications have been filed to sponsor Ukrainians seeking to come to the United States within 48 hours of the Biden administration launching its streamlined process for those fleeing war-torn Ukraine. A spokesperson for the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services told reporters on Monday afternoon the Department of Homeland Security launched an online portal as part of its, quote, Uniting for Ukraine process. The Humanitarian Parole program requires Ukrainians seeking entry to the U.S. to be sponsored by a U.S. citizen or individual, which would include resettlement organizations and nonprofit organizations. The quote from that report: since the portal went live, the USCIS has received more than 4,000 requests from applicants agreeing to support Ukrainian citizens of their immediate family members as part of the Uniting for Ukraine process. Again, Matthew Bork, the spokesman for the USCIS, told reporters again Monday. Ukrainian applicants will undergo rigorous security vetting and checks, including biographic and biometric screening, and complete vaccinations and other public health requirements. The U.S., in a fresh report from today, has credible information that Russian military executed Ukrainians who attempted to surrender in some areas. Again, we've seen those pictures with hands bound in places like Bucha and Berdyansk. Again, a lot of that is still being investigated at this time. We're still waiting to get the concrete information out of what happened in those areas. However, the U.S. now has credible information that a Russian military unit, specifically there was one or two units that were mentioned in this post here, that again, a Russian military unit executed Ukrainians who were attempting to surrender near Donetsk. So this isn't near Kiev. This is in the east. Again, an ambassador at large for global criminal justice, Beth Van Schack, again said at the United Nations Wednesday today. Quote from that report: "We now have credible information that a Russian military unit operating in the vicinity of Donetsk executed Ukrainians who were attempting to surrender rather than take them into custody. If true, this would be a violation of a core principle of the laws of war, the prohibition against the summary execution of civilians and combatants who are hors de combat by virtue of surrender, injury, or other forms of incapacitation." Again, Van Schack said credible reports of individuals killed execution style with their hands bound, bodies showing signs of torture, horrific accounts of sexual violence against women and girls. These images and reports suggest that atrocities are not the result of rogue units or individuals. They rather reveal a deeply disturbing pattern of systematic abuse across all areas where Russia's forces are engaged. Again, seeing that pattern there of not only in the east, but we've also seen accounts of this occurring in the western portion of Ukraine, when the Russian forces were in that region around Kiev, around Chernobyl. Again, those are all still being investigated, and I believe it is going to take some time for us to get more concrete information on what occurred there. In another quick quote from that report, they said, "Let us be clear: those who unleashed, perpetrated, or ordered these crimes must be held to account. And the evidence of this criminality is mounting daily. Our simple message to Russia's military and political leadership and file is this: the world is watching, and you will be, quote, held accountable." Hungarian foreign minister confirms to reporters that his country will use Russia's energy payment scheme. Again, the Hungarian foreign minister confirmed to reporters that his country will use the payment scheme put in place by Moscow to pay for its oil and gas. Defending this decision, Foreign Minister Peter Sijaro, again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly there, a direct quote from that report here: "85% of our gas supply comes from Russia, and 65% of our oil supply comes from Russia. Why? Because this is being determined by infrastructure. This is not for fun. We have not chosen this. We have not chosen the situation." Again, under that Russian payment scheme, energy importers have, again, had to open 2 bank accounts with Gazprom Bank, a foreign currency account and a rubles account. The proceeds of sales are paid in foreign currency, dollars or euros, which is then converted by Gazprom Bank into the ruble. In a statement from President Zelensky, again, the Ukrainian president looks forward to a post-war Ukraine, again, in his nightly video address Wednesday, saying he wanted to provide housing for all of those serving in the armed forces, working as emergency responders, police officers, and otherwise working for the state. This was in addition to the goal of rebuilding everything destroyed in Russian attacks, he said, issuing an appeal to local communities to provide information on damaged buildings so that the post-war reconstruction could happen quickly and effectively. He also hailed a move by the European Union to remove all duties and quotas on Ukrainian exports for a year, as well as suspending anti-dumping tariffs. Again, Ukraine is concerned about provocations in pro-Russian region of Moldova. Again, we reported on that primarily last night. Ukrainian officials, again, have been talking about the risk of another front in the conflict with Russia opening up in that breakaway region there, again, along the border with Moldova in the southwest. Part of the Moldovan border region is controlled by a pro-Russian administration, what's called Transnistria. Unexplained explosions there earlier this week prompted Ukrainian officials to allege that Russia's security services were planning provocations in Transnistria as a pretext to open up a new front in the war. Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to President Zelensky, told Ukrainian television Wednesday, quote, "We have always considered Transnistria as a springboard from which there may be some risks for us for the Odessa and Vinnytsia regions." Again, I reported it weeks ago when those strikes occurred in Vinnytsia at those air bases. There was a lot of speculation that those missiles were launched from the Transnistria breakaway region. Again, Transnistria is the equivalent of, I mean, it's not directly the equivalent, but I would say it's very similar to what's going on in the Donbass region prior to the invasion. Okay, you have a breakaway region in Moldova there that aligns with Russia. And opposes again, the Moldovan government. Russian military strikes have caused significant damage at hospitals in Ukraine's Severodonetsk. A Russian military strike caused, quote, significant damage to a regional hospital in the eastern Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk. Video released by the Luhansk Regional Administration shows again the damage on that building. So shows the destruction on that hospital there. Again, that has been geolocated and verified. Again, the authenticity of those images. Again, the video begins with scenes of blown-out windows in a hospital stairwell as the individual taking the video climbs the stairs. More debris and damage are seen. Again, this is one of many images we have seen of these hospitals that have been struck, unfortunately, during the conflict here in Ukraine. Russian hacking in Ukraine has been extensive and intertwined with military operations, Microsoft says in a release earlier today. Again, at least 6 different Kremlin-linked hacking groups have conducted nearly 240 cyber operations against Ukrainian targets, Microsoft said in that release Wednesday. Again, that comes as we have covered a lot of that cyber activity that has occurred since the war broke out. I remember when we were listening to the CNN hot mics early on, listening to them talking about, not to plug in your modems. They were speaking to the other camera operators, like, don't plug in your equipment. The lines have, things have been compromised, and the infrastructure there had been compromised. We had mixed reports on that, and, there were some areas where the infrastructure was still in place and doing just fine and hadn't been exploited, and there was other places where the infrastructure had been exploited, in some cases even at the ISP level, on a very broad level in some of these regions, not just to down things like cellular communication infrastructure and internet communication infrastructure, but to directly infiltrate certain systems in certain areas. Again, in data that reveals a broader scope of alleged Russian cyber attacks during the war on Ukraine, again, than has been previously documented. Quote, Russia's use of cyber attacks appears to be strongly correlated and sometimes directly timed with its kinetic military operations, said Tom Burt, a Microsoft vice president. The Microsoft report is the most comprehensive public record yet of Russian hacking efforts related to the war in Ukraine. I would argue that some of the private sector, I would argue that some of the open source intelligence reports that have come out in the recent weeks are probably a little bit even more in depth than that. I would argue, but either way, again, it fills in some gaps in public understanding of where Russia's vaunted cyber capabilities have been deployed during the war. Again, we've seen a lot of zero-day exploits occur. We've seen a lot of new novel exploits be used by Russia, and again, it's possible they will continue to use cyber capabilities in retaliation against the United States and the West in general for some of the actions that we are, carrying out here as we deliver weapons into Ukraine to help the Ukrainians. Again, we're going to have to keep an eye on that situation closely. Again, Poland and Bulgaria are receiving gas from their European neighbors as Russia now has shut off the gas supply to those countries. Again, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said Wednesday in that report, again, that both countries refused to pay the Russian energy giant in rubles. And so now they're looking to possibly get some of their fuel, some of their gas from European neighbors there. More than 20,000 Ukrainians have been processed at the U.S.-Mexico border since mid-March, in a continuation from the report that we gave you guys earlier this month. The Department of Homeland Security is now reporting that they have processed more than 20,000 Ukrainians at the U.S.-Mexico border and granted them humanitarian parole since March 11th. Again, when officials began exempting them on a case-by-case basis, again, following Russia's invasion. Again, this comes as a much larger humanitarian crisis is unfolding, a much larger refugee crisis, I should say, is unfolding, not just here in the United States, not just here in the Americas, but especially in Europe, as people flee to a lot of other countries. There's a lot of people moving back into Ukraine as well. We've gotten reports from the borders with Poland of crowded borders, crowded border checkpoints where people are coming back to places like Kiev, the region around Kiev, now that the Russians have moved out of those areas. Again, a lot of people can't afford just to give up their livelihoods, their homes, and now that the Russians have been pushed back out of those areas, a lot of people are feeling that it's safe enough for them to move back in, to go home. A lot of people have nowhere else to go. They don't have money to stay abroad. They're either staying in shelters or staying in hotels, Airbnbs, etc. In a report from earlier today, the Pentagon says more than half of the 90 howitzers the U.S. is sending to Ukraine are in country at this time. Again, we reported on this earlier this week. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said more than half of the 90 howitzers, long-range weapons the U.S. is sending to Ukraine are now in country during a briefing at the Pentagon on Wednesday. Quote from that report, today, without giving whole numbers, more than half of those howitzers are in Ukraine. 50 Ukrainians have been trained on the howitzers. The Ukrainians are going back to Ukraine and to train their teammates again. So they've been trained in the United States or in certain areas of Europe. They're now being sent back into Ukraine to train their fellow Ukrainian artillery operators. Those 50 Ukrainians who have already been trained on the howitzers were part of, quote, the first tranche of training, Kirby added. Kirby did not know if the second tranche of training, the next group of 50 Ukrainians to be trained, has started yet. Again, that wraps up tonight's primary reports. Actually, I have a few here. Before we hop into the Situation Room, I have a few that have been sent over by community members over the past hour or two. The first one comes from the Captain over on the Discord. Thank you so much, Captain. He's been a long-time contributor to the reporting here. Again, this was posted on news.com /Australia, news.com.au, so I believe that's the Australian branch of news.com. Again, this is a more broader report that we've seen picked up by a few other outlets here. Again, Putin threatens lightning fast nukes in case of Ukrainian interference. In fact, actually, really quickly, I'm going to get this up on screen for you guys so we can both look at this article together. First, what we'll do here is we'll go over to our big screen. There, we got our big screen up. Again, let's get this post up on screen here. This is from news.com.au. Again, I'll read a little bit of the article from this. And again, guys, I like to we like to keep the nuke idea in the back of our minds as a possibility, but at the same time, we like to we don't like to put on our tinfoil hats too far. Okay, we need to keep rational here, and we need to think, along the lines of assured mutual destruction here. Will Putin actually go as far as to use a low-yield nuclear weapon? Again, I've talked about this many times on the live stream, on the show over the past 2 months. And again, we've kind of shifted position on it from not really talking about it at all to now we do kind of talk about it a little bit because of a few things. Again, and I'm telling you this before we read this report just so that everybody is aware. Those few things being, in recent weeks, the CIA director came out in a public press release saying, that this is a real possibility if Putin gets backed into a corner that he might resort to using uh, these certain weapons. And also, when President Zelensky came out with that statement saying, that it was also he actually came out with that statement just a few days after the CIA director made that statement. He came out and he said that it is a possibility that we have to keep our eye on. Okay, and so that's why we do kind of cover things like this. We do like to, keep an eye on this rhetoric very closely because it's a lot on the line, and it's too dangerous for us to just totally assume it's hush posh and just put on the back burner. And I think that's exactly how U.S. intelligence thinks of it. They hope, they sort of know and hope that Russia won't use a low yield tactical nuke, but at the same time, they have to keep it in the back of their minds that it is a risk. They have those capabilities there, and Putin has said that he will use those capabilities. He's already stated that. They also have a first use doctrine if they feel threatened. Russia's nuclear doctrine, again, has a first use policy. Again, with all that in mind, though, the ramifications of them using a weapon of this nature, again, leaves it kind of unlikely that they would resort to that. Again, they could resort to things like large conventional munitions, things like chemical weapons, etc., before resorting to something like a low-yield nuclear weapon. Again, I'm going to go ahead and read some of the article here on screen, again, sent over by the captain. Thank you so much, Captain, for sending over this information this evening. One second here. Let me get this up on screen here. That looks good. Okay. All right. So, yeah, see, as Panikius says in Twitch there, again, thank you so much for this, Panikius. He says, Russia will have no supporters if they go nuclear, meaning China, etc. Yes, a lot of their close allies would probably pull out as well as soon as the nuclear card was used. I know a few of them would probably double down on their support for Russia if the nuclear uh, button was pushed, so to speak. But again, yes, they would lose the majority of their support from their allies, from those BRIC allies that they have, as well as China as well would probably double down on pulling out there. Again, if they use those nuclear weapons, they would definitely pull out of any sort of talks or relations with Russia at that point. I believe that would be too dangerous for them to get involved with. Emperor Kamada says a Russian general would shoot Putin in the head if he used a nuke. Maybe some might. There's a lot of intel saying that he does have a significant group of his military hierarchy supports his actions. However, uh, there are some exemptions to that. All right. There are some exceptions there. Sorry to that. I believe there are some people in the Russian hierarchy that would disagree with that decision. Would they go as far as to carry out an attack on Putin directly? That remains to be seen. Now, again, it is threats. Yeah, exactly like Mimi says right there in the chat. And Zelensky made that address. He said Putin shouldn't be allowed to blackmail the rest of the world with threats. Exactly. That's exactly true. He said, in the statements that Zelensky directly has made over the past month or so, he said two things. He said it's a possibility that we need to keep an eye on. Okay, that it's definitely something that he could resort to if he got backed into a corner, and B, that he should not be able to blackmail us. He should not be able to decrease morale, by using that rhetoric. Okay, so that's very important. So we need to have both of those aspects in our mind here. That A, we need to not be fearful. We need to not think we need to concede to Russia. I guess, as from a Ukrainian perspective, this is what they're thinking, okay? And from a Western perspective, this is what they're thinking. They're thinking, hey, we need to not concede to Russia and give in to the fear mongering and the rhetoric, but at the same time, we need to keep that idea in the back of our heads that it is possible that he could use those weapons. Again, I'll go ahead and here just read the report here. Vladimir Putin has warned he will use nuclear weapons against the West if anyone interferes in Ukraine. The threat comes, again, it is a verbal threat at this point. There is no evidence pointing to the fact that he would, that he has those weapons in place and that they're ready to be used. Although one would argue that, they probably do have that capability already in place and ready to use. However, there's no direct evidence of that at this time. Again, the threat comes, as Russian leaders said, the response to counterstrikes will be, quote, lightning fast. Again, that report came from earlier today. Speaking to lawmakers, he said, if someone intends to interfere in what is going on from the outside, they must know that constitutes an unacceptable strategic threat to Russia. Again, referring to the weapons and the weapons imports into Ukraine, the lethal aid that's being sent into Ukraine. That's really what he's speaking about there. Again, a quote from that: "They must know that our response to counterstrikes will be lightning fast." And then he adds the word "fast" there at the end. A quote: "We have all the weapons we need for this. No one else can brag about these weapons, and we won't brag about them, but we will use them," he says. Mr. Putin appears to be referring to his 6 super weapons, including Russia's deadly Sarmat missile, dubbed the Satan II. Again, that was launched in that test launch last week. The missile can fly again 17,700 kilometers and carry 15 warheads, and has a potential to destroy an area the size of France. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that Sarmat missile also carries dummy warheads as well as active warheads. Somebody could confirm that for me. I believe that the one that they tested also carries possible dummy warheads, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I could be wrong on that. Again, I'm not a expert on Russian military hardware by any stretch of the imagination. Again, the tyrant continued by saying the Kremlin can't allow any anti-Russia to be created on Russia's historical territory, and added that Ukraine was, quote, pushed to attack Crimea and the Donbass. Again, I'll just read a few excerpts there from the report that Captain sent over on the Discord. Again, thank you so much for sending that over, Captain. So now we're going to switch over again to our situation room in our Discord, and we are going to take a look at some of the community aggregated reporting and information that has been, again, brought to us by our community members on the Discord server. Again, I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody that's been contributing over there, to all of our intel analysts, radar analysts, radio analysts, cyber analysts, etc., that have been working around the clock to aggregate this information and share it with all of you via these reports. Fancy Hat with a comment here says, the hypersonic had the dummy warheads. I don't know about the Sarmat though. Emperor Kamada says it does carry decoys. Most ICBMs do. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was pretty sure that they do carry dummy warheads on those Sarmat 2 missiles, which makes them, again, a little bit more dangerous, again, because you have to not only shoot down the dummy warheads, but you also have to shoot down the active ones as well. All right, so yeah, again, see, like, Russia has kind of a pattern here, and Pocky, as Pocky says, same threats he's been making since they definitely weren't going to invade Ukraine 2 months ago. Again, we've seen a pattern here, a pattern of when Russia says they aren't going to do something, they end up doing it. And when they say they're going to do something, I would say about 80% of the time they don't do it. The other 20% of the time they do follow through. There has been a few cases we have seen them follow through on these threats. mainly those threats when they threatened the technical command locations in Kiev early in the war, and then struck those with bombardment. Speaking to the TV tower that was struck there, a few other of those sites were struck there semi-successfully, one would argue. Semi-unsuccessfully, I would say, one would argue. However, again, sometimes they do follow through with these threats. I would say, with the larger the threat, the less likely they're going to follow through with it. Okay, so really quickly here, guys, I'm just getting some of these community aggregated posts here together. All right, okay, so our first post here is brought to us by our very dedicated contributor, Kayuka, who has been absolutely working overtime this week to bring you guys some of these posts here. Kayuka probably sits on Twitter and Telegram, I would say, 25 hours out of every 24-hour day. Absolutely does not miss a beat. Thank you to whoever that was that subscribed there. Again, I didn't catch what your name was there, but a big shout out to you. Thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Again, so this post here comes from Twitter. Sue Stone on Twitter. Again, this is possibly unconfirmed reporting here. However, it does. Actually, this is from CNN. I believe this comes directly from CNN. U.S. has credible information that Russian military executed Ukrainians, again, who attempted to surrender in Donetsk. That's the report, basically the same reporting I brought you earlier, just a short while ago. There was another post with that. I believe there was two here. Actually, yeah. So Kayuka also linked the source post for that here. Again, U.S. has credible information that Russian military executed Ukrainians who attempted to surrender. Again, that was from reportedly Donetsk, the Donetsk region, where those attacks took place. This next post here comes from HM Producer, another long-time contributor. Thank you so much, HM Producer, for posting this in the Situation Room. This is a video, again, posted on YouTube from a source called Russia Go Away from Ukraine. It shows a video reportedly of a Russian father exchanging some words here with his son. We'll take a look at this. I'll read the excerpt here from it. All the participants, including phone callers, gave their voluntary consent to filming and publishing the video on the internet in accordance with the civil codes here of the Russian Federation. Really quickly, I'll get the audio here. It is Russian, so he's saying that he's a journalist. He wants to have a conversation here with him, with this young man here, without any compulsions. He said.
Это формат беседы.
He's asking his permission to record the conversation.
Записи публикации этого разговора.
Я согласен.
Вы согласны? Тогда представьтесь, пожалуйста.
Я Антонов Иван Дмитриевич, 07.07.2001 года рождения, рядовой санитар-разведчик из города Краснодар, военная часть 51532.
Как вы попали в Украину? И когда?
Получается, были учения у нас, мы на учения поехали после 25 то ли 26 числа в Крым, ну, там заповедник Апук. И там, получается, после того, как я там вообще оказался на учениях, получается, сказали, съездим на неделю, максимум 2. То есть учения пройдут, приедешь, и там, соответственно, меня назвал перевод, в штаб. Это уже это. Получается, мы там находимся
After 1 week, we
неделю,
decided the exercise would last for 2
прошла,
weeks because
думаем,
we
ну,
had been
наверное,
told
тогда уже
maximum 2
2,
weeks.
рассказали, ну, максимум 2. Там должен был приехать другой какой-то отряд и нас как бы поменять.
Another
И
unit
мы
was supposed to swap out with
уехали.
us. The
Соответственно,
second
прошла
week
вторая
passed, but
неделя,
that unit had not
этого отряда нет, и
arrived.
уже ближе к третьей неделе они
It
подъехали,
arrived at the
мы
beginning of the
стоим,
third
все
week.
уже на нервах, типа,
Everyone was
какого
nervous
фига мы там
because the quote
находимся.
exercise
То
took
есть,
too long,
ну, так же
but otherwise
происходит
everything looked as
обычное
if
лечение, но я
normal,
впервые,
as
потому
if
что я
normal
служу
exercise was taking place, but
буквально
it
вот
was my
сколько я
first
вот там
experience.
находился, вот
All of
столько
my
я
actual
служил
service
по
time
факту.
totaled the
А
period
так,
of the
по
exercise. So
контракту вы
he's saying
успели
here,
подписать?
guys, he's
Контракт я
saying here,
успел подписать, но по факту
really quickly, so he's saying here that all of his time in the service, in the Russian forces, all of his time in service was that exercise, so those 2 weeks. So that's how long he had been on board with the Russian military before going in to serve. He says, the reporter here asks him, have you signed the contract? He says, yes, I've signed the contract, but actually I started to serve from the beginning of the quote exercise. So he had just been starting to serve just then. I was just waiting for my transfer to the headquarters, but was just biding time.
Ну да.
So you're like a clerk?
Просто
He says,
мне-
sort of.
я
In
не
general, I
лелеял,
was not
короче,
eager
эту
about
военную
military
службу в
service.
целом. Просто как бы военный тоже. Это все. Ну, это у нас болезнь такая. Таких ребят, как я. Ну,
And,
в плане таких,
and
как
there are
я,
other
я
lads like
имею в
me,
виду,
military
что
service is just a
те,
constitutional duty.
которые видят себя в других вещах, нежели это, а это просто как по Конституции у нас прописана обязанность. Вот и все.
Многие из России
The
заявляют о
reporter
том, что
says many
нет,
people
нету
from Russia
никакой
state that there are
обязанности.
no
По
such
Конституции
obligatory duty.
прописано то, что
He then
военная
says,
обязанность.
according to the Constitution, there
Там
is such
это
military
наказуемо
duty. You are
до
legally
27
bound to
лет
military
ты
service
военно
until
обязанный,
27
потом,
years old. After that, if you are
если,
lucky,
вот,
if you are lucky, you can
самое
get a
главное,
relief
если
from the
повезет, тебе
service.
могут дать белый билет. То есть ты придешь, получишь, сказать, мне уже
Come
больше
to quote a
27,
conscription
либо тебя
conscription
посадят.
office and say, look,
То
I
есть
am over
зона
27
риска до
now,
27
and you
лет,
can
а
get
потом уже
released.
дальше
Да.
можно
Or asked to
получить
until
отдел.
В этом
27 years
диапазоне
old,
как бы
you are at
многие
risk. He says
семьи
yes,
заводят,
and people
как
usually
бы
start a family, pursue
отсрачивают,
education,
учатся,
and in
как
this way,
правило,
they delay their
у кого
service duty.
получается учиться,
Those who can study,
ну,
they study, go to
те учатся
university
в
to pursue
университет,
master's
идут,
degree in order to
соответственно,
delay until
магистратура, и вот так
27 or
отсрачивают до
start a family.
27. Либо заводят ИП, еще есть такая.
Почему так получается, что из Москвы или Питера, например, мы
He's
здесь
asking
никак
why
не
there are no
можем
people from
встретить такого
Moscow or St.
человека?
Ну,
Petersburg,
потому что это,
because there are two
во-первых,
largest
это,
cities of the
можно
country,
сказать,
and it is
две
easier to
столицы,
get
так
away
сказать,
with it
самые главные города
to
России,
dodge
которые, ну, там много всякого,
military
и там
service there.
легче, так сказать, подмазаться, то ли как.
Понимаете ли вы, что в основном всех шлют из каких-то неблагополучных семей,
Ну да, то есть...
низких социальных
Нет.
Again, they're talking about
Ну да, как бы
just
в этом
the,
есть такое,
the
потому
issues with
что
poverty
люди,
that they
которые
are
не имеют
suffering from there,
связи, ну, как правило,
saying yes,
они
because
не
people
имеют
without connections don't have
достаточно
chances to
шансов,
find
чтобы
their
вот
way
так
out.
прорваться. Ну, конечно, можно там,
You
так
can try to use
сказать,
other
какими-то
methods. For
такими
instance, there is a
разными
popular movement
способами. У нас, например, есть
not to
призыв
conscription,
очень
which is
популярная
also
кампания,
being
которая тоже
prosecuted.
судит и государство,
Again,
и
this is a 40-minute video here, so I'm not going to watch all of this here, but I thought it was interesting. Just that first portion there about how he talked about how he had only been in service there for the first like 2 weeks. It was of that exercise, and then he was just cast onto the front lines there. So definitely a very interesting watch, guys. You can find this video over in the Situation Room on our Discord server. I highly recommend you guys go take a look at that. Thank you, HM Producer, for sending that over. Another post actually here from HM Producer in our Situation Room from earlier today. This comes from Reddit here. This is actually some combat footage earlier from Russian Su-25 pairs operating in Ukraine. Getting some volume up there so we can hear those jets swooping over there. Now, Russian Su-25s operating in Ukraine. Those flybys here. You can see this Ukrainian soldier, or not soldier, but this Ukrainian person here. I'm not sure if it's a Ukrainian or maybe somebody from one of the separatist regions, but whoever, I mean, they're fishing in a war zone. Hats off to them. I hope they had a good catch there tonight, that day. You see those jets doing really low flybys there, probably to avoid radar and anti-air defense. I can imagine is why they I could not imagine how loud that was for that guy on the right there to have that flyby. so they are operating in pairs. That is interesting. Is that a common Russian Air Force tactic, I wonder? Yeah, for the first part of the war, we didn't see very much of the Russian Air Force, and I believe that has sort of changed over the past like a few weeks. We've seen kind of an uptick in the spotting of Russian aircraft. Yeah, they're really flying low there, like really low. I mean, that's right over the tops of the buildings there. Some aircraft guys in the chat could probably sound off and immediately tell me how far above the ground they're probably flying in these low flybys. Hugo asks, how come aircraft is never seen in live cams? We actually have picked up a few aircraft in live cams. I think we picked up a few helicopters, and we picked up the audio of jets many times passing near the cameras. You can see, I think one of them was using flares. Yep, those look to be flares there. Yeah, I believe those are flares there to thwart anti-aircraft systems, if I'm not mistaken. So they're doing some pretty interesting maneuvers here. Tango estimates about 400 feet. Tiger Eye says maybe a scare tactic. Yeah, I think not only would this definitely, scare the locals and even possibly decrease Ukrainian troop morale, but I think it's primarily for them to avoid radar and anti-aircraft systems, if I'm not mistaken. You can see them using the flares there again. Using those flares to thwart the anti-aircraft systems. Yeah, as Fancy Hat says, they can't drop a payload from that low. That is, I mean, they might be able to strafe targets. I'm pretty sure they have like a main gun on those Su-25s, don't they? Again, I'm not a Russian aircraft expert, but I believe they do have some ordnance they can use at lower altitudes. Maybe some missiles or maybe like a main gun they might be able to use at those lower altitudes. But yeah, definitely couldn't drop any larger ordnance at that low altitude. Wow, yeah, that was a really, really low flyby there. Yeah, 100%. This would definitely scare anybody on the ground and most likely decrease Ukrainian troop morale. If I was on the ground there and you got the Russian aircraft flying overhead, that would definitely not be a sight you'd want to see. Yeah, as Gregory Lane says, radar tracking unreliable in water. I mean, I think this low, their radar tracking would be. That's probably why they're flying this low. Is two things, like to stay out of radar and possibly thwart anti-aircraft. That would be my best guess. Flares being used there. Thank you so much for that post, HM Producer, over on the Situation Room. Again, always interesting seeing some of that aircraft activity in the skies over Ukraine. I would like to see more footage of, I mean, maybe, again, not recent footage, but I'd like to see some footage of Ukrainian aircraft operating. I haven't seen too much. Again, you know, the Ukrainian operational security has been absolutely airtight, as it should be. However, you know, I think it would be cool to see some of that, Ukrainian air power at work in Ukraine. In another post by Kayuka, thank you so much for this. This shows a derailed train. I believe I showed some of this footage. I might have shown a bit of this last night. This might actually be a different rail than what we showed last night. Actually, no, I think this is the same one here. But you can see those rails, those railways were struck carrying this military equipment here. Somebody said, so apparently this video, again, and I think we covered this last night, so just to clarify for everybody, this video of a derailed train carrying military equipment in Berdyansk is fake. Apparently this video was uploaded in 2017. Again, we showed this last night, and we reported it as footage from those strikes that happened on those railway lines, and that maybe that this was footage of those cars that had maybe been overturned due to the strikes on those rail lines. It has now been confirmed that was fake. Yeah, from 2017. Again, I think Kayuka just messaged me really quickly just to confirm that with me. I know the stream is about 30 seconds behind, so he probably took a minute to catch up there. Probably had a mini heart attack. Again, yeah, just wanted to clarify with everybody that this video, again, was uploaded in 2017. Again, and allegedly shows a derailed train at Russia's far eastern railway station of Chita 2. Again, people are passing that off as Berdyansk from those strikes. Our next post here comes from HM Producer. Sent this to me earlier today. This, again, is unconfirmed. This shows what is reportedly, again, unconfirmed information. The footage shows what is reportedly equipment of the Romanian armed forces heading towards the Ukrainian border. Taken today, either today or yesterday again. This is unconfirmed. We're still waiting to get more information on this. Nonetheless, we thought it'd be interesting to show you guys that equipment there. If it is true, it could be they're heading to the border again, just to kind of bolster the defenses along their border there, as many of those countries are doing currently. Papu, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Says Nemico Network, they saved a jet while the landing was shelled. And hi, by the way, mate. Thank you so much, Papu, for tuning in tonight. Glad to have you on the show. So, yeah, that video might have had a little bit of high-pitched noise there. Again, I'll lower the input volume for some of those videos just to balance that out for you guys a little bit. Sometimes sometimes one video can be a little louder than the other, so I have to kind of constantly be shifting it around to make sure that everything sounds good for you guys. Mr. Lamo, thank you so much for tuning in. Glad to have you. What Me Worry, thank you so much for tuning in. Wait, are you guys still getting audio? You are. Okay. Sorry, that was coming from our Kharkiv feed. I paused that just now. That high-pitched whine was not from the video. It is actually from our Kharkiv audio feed that was coming in there in the background. Apologies for that. So just getting caught up here with some of the other posts here, so stand by. This comes from Tygon. Thank you so much for posting this, Tygon, in the Situation Room. This comes from a Twitter source, UA Weapons. I believe we have had a few posts, actually, from this Ukraine Weapons Tracker page. A Russian separatist, BMP-2, was destroyed by Azov Special Forces in the vicinity of Huliopol in a counterattack today. Again, that was from, Wednesday. This was reported here. One second, let me get this out of the way for you guys. You can see that Ukrainian soldier there, believed to be a part of Azov Battalion, standing next to their prey there, the BMP-2 that was destroyed there. Thank you, Tygon, for posting that in the Situation Room. Next post here, again from Kayuka. Thank you so much for posting this over. This also comes from UA Weapons Tracker. Thus, I thought it was pretty viable here. Bushmaster protected mobility vehicles recently delivered from Australia are already being tested by the Ukrainian army, as seen here. The vehicle was up-armed with a 40mm MK19 automatic grenade launcher and a M240 machine gun. That'll definitely get the job done. You can see those very cheerful Ukrainian forces happy to get their new equipment there. Thank you, Kayuka, for posting that. This next post comes from Putin's nemesis, a longtime contributor to the reports here. Has been with us since day one, I believe. Thank you so much, Putin's nemesis, for posting this in the Situation Room. This shows what is reportedly Russian shelling in Marinka, Donetsk Oblast. Again, this comes from OSINT Citadel. I believe this was posted actually first yesterday. I'm not sure if this was taken today, Wednesday, or if this was from yesterday. Something tells me this was from yesterday, I believe. You can see very heavy shelling there, guys. The video starts, 1 explosion, 2, 3, 4, and then before you know it, literally the entire landscape here is just absorbed in shelling in that strike. Very stark footage here, as we see absolutely decimation here by that Russian shelling in Marinka. You can see the smoke then trailing away from that devastation there from those strikes. You can see more explosions going off in that video as well there. Our next post here comes from Demonic X. Thank you so much for posting this on the Situation Room over there. Comes from Michelle Limiarian. Again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly on Twitter. Again, a unconfirmed post here saying Ukrainian Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022 has a scheduled hearing in the U.S. House Rules Committee today, again at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Americans, please call your member of Congress and tell them you support this bill. Doubly important if your rep sits on the Rules Committee. So some legislation looking to be passed there. One last post here coming from Proch Thing. Again, apologies, we don't have time to go through all the posts posted over there in our Situation Room in the Discord. But our last one here for this evening comes from Proc Thing in the Situation Room. Thank you so much for posting this over there, Proc Thing. This comes from BBC News. It's a report saying the West should provide warplanes. Again, saying that comes from Liz Truss there. In a major speech in London, Ms. Truss will argue that the West, quote, must be prepared for the long haul and double down on our support for the country. Since Russia's invasion, Ukraine has repeatedly asked allies to supply heavy armaments such as airplanes and tanks. NATO has provided mostly only lighter weaponry amid fears of escalation. Ms. Truss will tell an audience at Mansion House in the City of London that the fate of Ukraine remains in the balance, that the West cannot be complacent. Quote, if Putin succeeds, there will be untold further misery across Europe and terrible consequences across the globe. We would never feel safe again. Again, she will say on Wednesday evening. She said there on Wednesday evening. Again, thank you for that report, Proc Thing, from the Situation Room. Again, guys, we don't have time to go through all of our reports, all of our community aggregated reporting and intel over on our Situation Room. But if you would like, by far, the best source of information for the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, for the broader conflict here, which is now arguably happening across the region, The best place by far to get that information is on our community Discord server. You can find a link to that in the description below. That's discord.gg/Nemico. Specifically, our Situation Room over on the Discord server is filled with good reports and good information that is constantly being vetted and proofed by our community over there, that makes sure that all of the posts that we are putting in there, if confirmed, are at least semi valid and are vetted over time. If we find that something is fake news, if something again has been manufactured, and we report on it, and then we get information days later that says that that's not true, and the situation is different, we bring that reporting back to you guys to make sure that everybody's getting the facts here. Okay, and again, whenever we see a report, maybe information comes in that disproves a report that we get in our Situation Room, it's removed from again the Situation Room, or we put a post there saying, hey, this is known fake news, this is known propaganda, so that you guys are aware of it. Again, I would just like to give a shout out to everybody tuning into the stream this evening. We're about to hop into our open source intelligence maps over here to go through the reports from this evening. Just want to give a quick shout out to Mehmet, who's tuning into the stream tonight. Thank you so much, Mehmet, for tuning in this evening. Fancy Hat, thank you so much for continuing to lend a hand over there in the mod department. Tango Down, thank you so much for lending a hand in the mod department. Fallen Rays, if you're still tuning in tonight. Epi, if you're still tuning in tonight. All of my usuals, you guys know who you are. Thank you so much for tuning back into the reports tonight. Glad to have you guys on this evening. Again, Mehmet, thank you so much for tuning in. We plan to have Mehmet on the show soon for an interview. In fact, I can't wait to get that going. Maybe we can get that going for tomorrow. Maybe for tomorrow night's report, we'll get Mehmet on for an interview. I'll message him about that here shortly. Mehmet, again, man, thank you so much for tuning in. You're a legend. Nice to have you. Common Fishbowl, thank you so much for cheering there. Much appreciated. Again, guys, we're going to switch over to our Situation Room now. Sorry, not the Situation Room, but our open source intelligence sources here. Primarily, we're going to go through about the past 12 hours of reports from our live UA map. So I'm going to scroll back to the 12-hour portion here, and we will start right here at the 12-hour mark. The European Union grants Ukraine zero tariff, zero quota trade. These measures will boost trade and keep its economy going. This is vital to, quote, win the war and recover post-war. Again, in some financial show of resilience there. 11 hours ago, the EU ambassadors just finished their meeting on Russia and Ukraine. Consultations between the Commission with individual member states will take place later this week, with a view to adopt the sixth package sometime next week. 10 hours ago here, Russian media shows photos of a Ukrainian Bayraktar TB2 that was shot down near the Kazinka, Belgrade Oblast. Again, over Russian territory, guys. So keep in mind, that is over Russian territory. This is Ukrainian border here, okay? The red line. That's Ukrainian border. This is Russian territory. That's where this was shot down. So, again, either narrative building here from the Russians, or this could be proof that the Ukrainians are taking the fight to Russia, taking the fight to Russian territory. We've seen reports from today that Ukrainian ambassador saying, that advisor to Zelensky coming out and saying, that statement saying basically that karma, the karma basically is coming back around to bite Russia. I forgot the exact quote here. It was something like, karma is unfortunate. When karma strikes, it is very unfortunate. It was their words there. Again, this was in Belgrade Oblast, right on the border with Ukraine today, as claimed by Panzer S1. As seen, it was carrying a MAMC enhanced fragmentation munition, as reported again by Russian media, guys. So keep in mind that this is being reported by Russian media, again, saying that it was carrying a fragmentation munition. Again, so either A, this is narrative building by the Russians, or this is indeed fact evidence that the Ukrainians are taking the fight into Russian territory now. 10 hours ago, truck with ammunition exploded in Donetsk. You can see the fiery explosion there, or the flames engulfing there, that truck in that image. And I can show you guys here a video of that as well. Actually, hold on, we got it embedded right here. I'll take a look. So here you can see footage of that that truck. Not just I believe it's more than one area there engulfed in flames from strikes there. And you can see what seems to be quite a large explosion that takes place there as well. Hold on, I'm going to unmute this here so you guys can hear this audio. I believe there's some audio here. Yes, you can see a large explosion there. You can see the cameraman there flinch from the shockwave of that very large explosion there.
Она с БК была. Пизда.
Pretty large detonation there. So that was a truck with ammunition that exploded there in Donetsk. 9 hours ago, 6 M77 155mm howitzers, towed howitzers, that Australia announced is sending to Ukraine, already arrived at Rzeszów, that is in Poland there, the airport in southeastern Poland, again delivered by C-17 transport aircraft. You can see a picture of those towed howitzers in that C-17 aircraft there. Again, just want to give another quick shout out to Mehmet. Thank you so much for stopping by the stream, man. Happy to see you guys. He says, I'm going to sleep. See you tomorrow, friends. Mehmet, I'll message you in the morning, man, and we will get an interview set up. I'll have you on the show tomorrow. Would love to have you back on. We got to talk about Dasha's Dozen Kitty Rescue. I want to get everybody debriefed on that now that you're settled back in there at home. Hope everything's going good for you, man, and stay safe out there. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Again, 9 hours ago here, Russian troops shelled Velka Kostomarovka today 3 times. You can see those posts, those reports here on the map geolocated. 9 hours ago, shelling continues at Avestal, that steelworks factory in Mariupol. You can actually see a photo here, multiple photos here of those strikes taking place near Avestal. This one here near Avestal, and this one here directly in the grounds of the plants, I believe. On the grounds, on the territory of the plant there. Yeah, again, very unfortunate. There are civilians and Ukrainians still trapped in that steelworks factory that are having to deal with that constant bombardment by those Russian forces. Again, there are evacuations. Evacuation efforts are looking to get going here so they can get people out of those areas. 9 hours ago, Russian troops attempted to advance to Nova Dmitrievka towards Barnanovkovi, but failed. Again, that is here. I believe that's by Izium, if I'm not mistaken. Where is Izium located? Here we go. Here's Izium here. Yeah, so just south of Izium here, you see where those Russian forces are moving down south. They're trying to enact that pincer movement we've been talking about for a while here, guys. They're moving down south, and then these forces are moving up north in order to cut off the pocket of Ukrainian forces that are here in the east for 2 reasons. A, they want to stop supplies and ammunition and forces from moving into the east to hold down these areas. And B, they want to stop Ukrainian forces from trying to retreat this way because they don't want those Ukrainian forces to be able to, again, fortify these areas that the Russians might want to, again, look to take hold of here in the coming weeks after, God forbid, they take control over these areas here in the east. 9 hours ago here, tractor damage as a result of a landmine explosion in Mekashovji, a village in the Kiev region. Again, there's been a lot of unexploded ordnance left behind there. Unfortunately, this farmer's tractor did get hit there by that landmine. Again, you can see the tractor there destroyed. Hopefully, the tractor driver, they don't report a casualty here, so it looks like maybe that tractor driver made it out, hopefully alive. Again, though, absolutely destroyed his tractor there, unfortunately. 8 hours ago, the Russian army shelling Kharkiv. You can see an image here posted of the smoke rising from those strikes in Kharkiv. And we also have a video here, which I could show you. On our source here. Let me get to that source. I believe it's Telegram. Here's that source here. Again, they have a lot of this blurred out as to not give away any positions from where this person filmed this video. Again, they wanted to keep operational security of the location here. But you do see that smoke rising in those videos. Again, for the Ukrainians, keeping that operational security has been absolutely imperative. 8 hours ago here, Transnistria authorities report 10 more explosive devices found at the radio center near the Mayak village. Again, here in Transnistria. So this area is definitely heating up, guys. Over the past 48 hours here, we've definitely seen an uptick in the rhetoric and the violence and the activity here in this breakaway region of Transnistria, as well as around Odessa and this southwestern pocket of Ukraine. We're going to have to keep a very close eye on that situation here. Again, those Russian forces are going to look to move further east, as you can see they're doing now, moving further west bound. Their next target arguably is going to be Mykolaiv as they look to link up with those forces in Transnistria in that breakaway region. Again, they want to capture the entirety of this southern coast here, as I believe has been the plan since the very beginning. They want to landlock Ukraine. They know that they probably won't be able to take Kiev, Lviv, and western Ukraine and central Ukraine, but if they could take the east, if they can landlock everything over to Transnistria, that breakaway region, they may be able to, again, render Ukraine a failed state. That is what Putin's aims are in this conflict currently in this special military operation that he is undertaking. Again, we've gone over what I like to call our guideline or Putin's options that he has for his special military operation. I've talked about this many times. Option one is to first capture the Donbass, okay? If he can do that, again, he can secure at least somewhat of a victory that he can bring home to the Russian people. Secondly, is capturing Mariupol in its entirety and holding this land bridge here going down to Crimea. Okay, an add-on to that is keeping Zaporizhia Oblast in these areas here that are currently under Russian control. Third option is to capture not only the Donbass, Mariupol, the land bridge, Crimea, right, hold that territory, but also to link up to Transnistria here, taking Odessa and the southern coast, okay? If they can do that, again, they render Ukraine a failed state that by landlocking it. They control this area right over to Transnistria, linking up with that other breakaway region. Again, for Russia, in a limited capacity, in a limited sense here, Transnistria, they see it as another Donetsk, another Luhansk, okay? And for them, that is a possible future problem that they want to deal with now. Again, I think that's a secondary reason why they are looking to link up here, take the southern coast, because they can link up right to Transnistria and just kind of, take that under control now so that it doesn't become a future issue for them. Fourth option is for them, once they have control over those areas, they might try to push westbound to the Dnieper, okay, to the river here. If they are able to get a foothold in the east here and in the south, they might be able to reshuffle forces to the east and then push further westward to the Dnieper, controlling this area. Okay, that's a fourth option. Fifth option, if that goes well for them, which again, all intel analyzing at this point here says it probably won't. Okay, given that the Ukrainians are heavily fortified in the central Ukrainian regions here, if they are able to push past the Dnieper, okay, they might take everything as far as the MO5, dividing the country literally in half from Kiev right down to Odessa. West Ukraine, Eastern Ukraine, again, controlled by Russian territory. Analysts say it's more likely that if that scenario was to occur, instead of going as far as the MO5, they would stop here at the river, given that it is a natural barrier dividing the two territories. Yes, Pocky says Moldova has had a lot of sketchy Russian activity happening in the past 2 days. Again, we saw that possible footage earlier of Romanian forces being shuffled around to Moldova and Ukraine, again, which is not the first information we've had of that activity occurring, and I doubt is the last that we're going to see. Again, we've had sporadic, unconfirmed reports that there is Romanian forces, NATO forces, kind of bolstering their defenses along not only the Moldovan border here, but also the Ukrainian border as well, especially the Moldovan border here as that situation looks to heat up there in that region. 7 hours ago, unfortunately, a woman here was killed as a result of a shelling of a hospital in Severodonetsk by the Russian army. We covered that hospital shelling earlier in tonight's reports. 7 hours ago here, one killed as a result of Russian shelling in Kharkiv as well. Again, you can see those reports geolocated on the map. 7 hours ago, Ukrainian defense minister says the coming weeks will be very difficult, and Russia is preparing to launch a large-scale attack in the east of the country. Arguably, I would argue that that is already underway. That large-scale attack, that large-scale offensive is already underway at this very hour as I am bringing you guys this report, okay? 6 hours ago, Russian hacking in Ukraine has been extensive and intertwined with military operations, says Microsoft. Again, I reported on that more in depth in earlier in tonight's reports. Again, we've been covering the cyber aspects of this offensive since day one. 6 hours ago, quote, with his attack on Ukraine, Russian President Putin has shattered the peace order in Europe. Again, Defense Minister Lambrecht said in Bundestag today, with the special fund for Bundeswehr, where we are responding to the dramatically changed security situation in Europe. 4 hours ago, European Council President says Putin will not win the war. Ukraine will win. Again, that comes as there's been a lot of meetings in the past few days, a lot of shows of solidarity by these European leaders here as they vouch support for Ukraine. 4 hours ago, 2 killed as a result of Russian shelling in Derhachi district in Kharkiv region in the last 24 hours. Again, it's unfortunate. Kharkiv remains one of the hardest hit areas in Ukraine. There has unfortunately been a large amount of civilian casualties there, collateral damage, residential buildings that have been damaged as well. People are losing their homes. They're not just losing their lives, they're losing their homes, they're losing their livelihoods, they're losing their food, their resources, etc. 4 hours ago, explosions reported in Kherson. Again, that region is under heavy conflict at this time. Kherson, again, the Russians there looking to enact their own city council, their own city government, as well as instate their own referendum, their own vote there in that Kherson region. You can see a video here of those explosions that were reported there coming to us from an unverified Twitter source. You can see those very, very violent explosions there. Apologies to my headphone users here. Very loud shockwave after that explosion is seen. Yeah, I could not imagine. I could not even imagine how loud and frightening that explosion must have been for the residents there of that region in Kherson. You can really hear the. You can really hear how violent that explosion is there in Kherson. Again, very stark scenes we're seeing from that region, as well as many other regions in Ukraine as this conflict looks to heat up in its second phase. 4 hours ago, Secretary of Russian Security Council Petruchev urged local authorities in southern Russia to, quote, prepare bomb shelters. Again, this is in southern Russia. Again, to prepare bomb shelters. This is very interesting rhetoric coming here from the Secretary of Russian Security Council. Again, and comes as they've increased the threat levels here in many of these Russian regions, as there's been strikes in the past few days. Even before the strikes, again, they were coming out with those reports. Again, here's another one of those threat level increases here. 4 hours ago, again, this statement here from those local, from that Security Council to the local authorities. Again, that is a big deal, a very big increase in the rhetoric there. We're gonna have to keep a close eye on that situation and see how that unfolds. 4 hours ago, Huliopol, the Zaporizhia region, a Russian BMP-2 was turned into scrap during Ukrainian counterattack yesterday. I believe this is the photo I actually showed you guys earlier that was posted in our Situation Room, if I'm not mistaken. me confirm here. Yep. Here's our Azov, what is suspected to be an Azov operator there, an Azov militant there, standing next to his prey there, a scrapped Russian BMP-2. So Kayuka, with a little bit of information he just sent over, he says not 100% verified yet, but it looks like in Kherson they took out the TV tower. It has been reported. Thank you so much for sending that over, Kayuka. Again, I hope to get some more information on that for you guys for later reports. Three hours ago, explosions reported in Mykolaiv. Again, I was speaking of that earlier. Again, Mykolaiv is the next on the agenda there for those Russian forces as they move west to Odessa to link up again, possibly with those forces in Transnistria. Again, we're going to have to keep a close eye on that situation as, again, Mykolaiv looks to possibly come under attack here by those Russian forces. Again, already under bombardment. It's only a matter of time if those Russian forces continue to push at the rate they are westward. They will make it to the city. We hope again that those Ukrainian forces are able to hold down the fort there in Mykolaiv. 3 hours ago, in a quote again from a Pentagon press secretary, saying no reason Ukraine war should escalate into nuclear confrontation. Again, from John Kirby there, adding Russia raising the specter of the use of such weapons is not helpful to the region's peace and security. Again, a very concerning development here that we've seen over the past 24 hours as the nuclear rhetoric has been ramped up. Again, we're going to have to keep a close eye on that situation. 3 hours ago, explosions reported in Odessa. Air defense was reportedly engaged there and successfully took down those threats. Waiting to get more information on that situation. 3 hours ago, reports of air defense missile launch in Belgorod. Again, we had, I believe we had clips from this earlier this evening. Possibly, again, unconfirmed reports of strikes that occurred there and those Russian air defense missile systems that possibly intercepted them. Again, we're still waiting to get more information on that. Kayuka, right here is that post actually on Live UA Map. Russian TV is not available anymore in Kherson after the explosion in, again, that TV tower area. So it looks like Russian TV has been knocked offline there due to an explosion at a TV tower in that area. 3 hours ago, Ukrainian air defense shot down Russian reconnaissance drone near Odessa. Again, Ukrainian air defenses shot down that Russian drone over that area, most likely launched from one of these regions over here, further east, or possibly even from a naval vessel. Again, still don't have any information, more concrete information on that. I will bring it to you guys when we get that information in. 3 hours ago here, faced with appalling barbarism and war crimes, which we'd hoped had been consigned to history, the free world has united behind Ukraine in its brave fight for freedom and self-determination. That statement, again, came from Liz Truss speaking at the Mansion House tonight. Again, I believe there's a photo with that. I'll go to the source here. And you can see that photo there of Liz Truss at that statement, at that press release there, giving that statement. Again, from another statement from Liz Truss there, we cannot be complacent. The fate of Ukraine remains in the balance, but let's be clear. If Putin succeeds, there will be untold further misery across Europe and terrible consequences across the globe. We would never feel safe again. Again, that's that statement from Liz Truss at that press release earlier today. Again, to finish up our report here tonight, as usual, the unfortunate pattern we see every evening. 2 hours ago, Poltavska Oblast, red alert aerial threat sirens were sounding. Kirovro-Odessa Oblast, Cherkasska Oblast, so those two oblasts there, sirens sounding. Zhytomyr Oblast, sirens sounding, as well as the city of Zhytomyr. Kramatorsk, sirens sounding there. Donetsk Oblast, sirens sounding. And Kharkiv, sirens sounding as well. You can see across the map here, all of these blue circles that have come in over the past few hours here are all of those active alerts now. So guys, it'll be tomorrow with tomorrow's report that unfortunately I will be bringing you most likely reports of strikes that occurred in some of these areas after these alarms went off. When these alarms go off, there is a threat of air bombardment or some kind of aerial kinetic strike. And so, again, unfortunately, it's possible we will see reports coming in tomorrow or later this evening even of some strikes that occurred in some of these areas. So we have to keep a very close eye on that. Again, this concludes our open source reporting here from Live UA Map. Really quickly, before we finish up this evening, we'll take a look at our flight radar. I would like to go more in depth into this maybe later this week. We'll take a look at some of that aircraft activity which we've been tracking. Again, you can see Ukraine's airspace completely dead. Belarus's airspace also fairly dead. There is one, I believe that's a commercial flight this evening. Yeah, it looks like some kind of, it's an Ilyushin IL-76, so this could be cargo. Possibly, again, commercial aircraft there. Aircraft in this whole region of western Russia completely dead. The Black Sea as well. All traffic diverting to the south there, as has been the norm since the war began. Again, we watched those shifts in those aircraft patterns happen multiple times. As for our top tracked flights for this evening, AN-124, an unknown flight Anatov, AN-124-100, currently over Rzeszów Airport there in Poland. Again, that's the #1 tracked tonight. Again, origin unknown. However, it looks like it came out of Leipzig here in Germany. I would say that's most likely cargo flights bringing in weaponry. I would imagine that could be weaponry being shifted around, because we have another AN-124 that's not too far off, another Anatov AN-124 again. Actually originated in Rzeszów. Interesting. We're going to have to keep an eye on those aircraft there. We have a fuel tanker here, KC-135R Strato tanker, doing its thing over Romania today, on its way back to base currently from the looks of it. #3 tracked on the site here. We have, again, our RSB 7603, that one flight over Belarus that I was speaking of a minute ago. Again, country of origin, Belarus. However, it does seem to have come out of Georgia, which is interesting. Again, we'll have to keep an eye on this. This could be military equipment or personnel being shifted around. That is possible. The rest of our flights on our radar tonight look to be commercial flights for this evening. I was going to go into our naval movements as well, but I don't think I have time for this evening. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to a little bit of a Q&A with some of our community members here in the live chats. If you guys have questions or comments, sound off now, and I can get those up on screen here for you. So Fancy Hat actually really quickly sends over he says, confirmed in all caps, 100% saw a video. Let's take a look at this. This is at the TV tower. Arrival at the TV tower. It is quoted as. So this is that video that I showed you guys just a short while ago. Again, sorry for my headphone users. So this is apparent, and that explains why we see the strike up in the air there, and you can kind of see the silhouette of a tower right there. You can see the silhouette of a tower there. Hold on, let's go to our big screen again. Sorry about that, guys. So you can see here kind of a silhouette of the tower right there, okay, as that explosion occurs. See the TV tower in the background there. Again, it is looking confirmed like this is that TV tower that was struck in Kherson. Again, thank you, Fancy Hat, for sending over that confirmation on this. This was another source here from Canadian Ukraine Volunteer on Twitter. Yeah, Ponicus says, wow, where was that? Again, that was Kherson, we believe. That is video of that TV tower being struck. Tiger Eye 912 says, any more info on Vice President of Gazprom Bank, Igor Volobuyev? At the moment, besides the other reporting we had earlier this week, I don't have any new information out on that. However, I hope possibly have to have a little bit of a report on the Gazprom, Poland, Bulgaria situation, because I believe it all has a lot to do. It's all involved, okay? Everything is kind of connected here. And I believe that I'll have some further information on this either later for tomorrow's report or maybe in a report for later this week. I'd kind of like to go into depth on the fuel situation that's occurring in Europe here and the situation here with Gazprom Bank and all of the events that are unfolding in and around that. LD429 says nukes aren't going away even if you quit talking about them. Exactly, LD429. And again, that's one of the reasons why I state again, that we have to keep that idea in the back of our minds that it is a possibility and that it is a threat here. But at the same time, we don't want to put on our tinfoil hats too much. We need to keep our heads about us. Keenan says, Nemico, yesterday I saw 10 spy planes up at one time. Very unusual. Were those Western spy planes, Keenan? Reconnaissance aircraft? That does sound like quite a few. We do track quite a few on a daily basis. Things like those Forte 10 reconnaissance drones. We track our RC-135 rivet joints. Those are another one that are tracked quite often. Those Artemis experimental reconnaissance flights, we've also tracked those quite often. 10 at one time. That definitely is quite a that is quite a number. Again, whenever you see activity like that, feel free to post it in our Flight Radar channel over on the Discord server, or even PM it to me, because I am interested in that stuff, and I will include it in nightly reports if it is significant. Miss Fishy says, I lost my eardrum several reports ago. Yeah, I mean, at times, some of these video sources, some of these explosions are quite loud. Audio balancing can be a little bit tricky, guys, especially for the 24/7 cam stream when we're getting all these dynamic feeds from different places and stuff. We're getting better, though. We're getting better. Liminal says Putin is pissing up a rope strategically and bankrupting his country. Not that he cares. Unfortunately, it does look as if that is true. Yeah, especially when it comes to bankrupting his country. However, they have spent a great deal fortifying their country for this exact scenario. I believe they prepared for things to get bad, worse than they are now. Part of me feels like Putin. Part of me feels like the Russian government has spent this time fortifying for circumstances much worse than where they are in now. That they realize that things are going to get bad, and they are preparing for that financially. Again, they're preparing for food shortages, for severe economic collapse, etc. To those two of you that just subscribed, thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. Alameo and Chili, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, guys, and thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. It means a lot. David Hyatt says artillery N-bombs are definitely an option with the new, more deadly NATO weapons. Are you saying nuclear artillery munitions? I'm pretty sure a few of those have. I don't know if all of them have been retired. I actually was reading up on those recently. A lot of them have actually been, at least for the U.S. nuclear artillery, tactical nuclear stockpiles. I believe they've gotten rid of a lot of those. I'm not sure if Russia has. I know somebody probably knows a little bit more about those tactical nuclear stockpiles. I could probably clarify on that. Again, Harlan says here, at Brian Cameron, I have never understood that term tactical nuclear weapon. So the thing is with tactical nuclear weapons, and what makes them different from what they call strategic nuclear weapons, strategic nuclear weapons are used in a long range sense. They're much larger. Okay, so they're much larger when it comes to their explosive yield, and also the way that they're deployed. So things like ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missiles, things like those hypersonic missiles. Those are what would carry strategic nuclear munitions. Now, tactical nuclear munitions are ones that can be used. So, actually, a better clarification for this is strategic nuclear weapons are ones that can be used internationally, across borders, right, through things like those ICBM platforms. Tactical nuclear weapons are ones that can be used by military commanders on the battlefield, like in close proximity. Okay, so instead of launching an ICBM 3,000 miles away, you can instead use an artillery unit to send a small nuclear shell 15 miles out, 8 to 15 miles out, to destroy a smaller target, possibly on the active battlefield, instead of using them strategically against country targets abroad. I guess that's a good way to put that there. Lambent says, any information on when the large attack by Russia is allegedly going to happen on the eastern side? Lambent, I would say with much much surety that that has already started. That Russian offensive, as of this hour, has already started. Has already started in the east. Zelensky stated last week that it had already started. So again, when people ask that question, when is this going to happen? It's already happening now. Art, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Much appreciated. Harlan again says, I am so confused as to what Putin actually wants to do. His end game. What's the point? Guess I will never understand why. And again, this continues to be a puzzling question that many intel analysts are pondering. What is his end game here? And there's many different answers to that question. David Hyde says, tactical nukes can be fired from artillery guns. Russians have the largest selection of tactical nukes. Scout says, I saw Putin say something about bomb shelters in Russia. Yes, so there's a report I just gave you guys a short while ago. In fact, I could scroll back to it. It's probably not that far. Right here. 4 hours ago, Secretary of Russian Security Council Petruchev urged local authorities in southern Russia to, quote, prepare bomb shelters. This was only 4 hours ago here, guys. So, again, very interesting rhetoric there. We're going to have to wait to see what comes of that. Demented Chaos is like a Fat Man nuke from Fallout, exactly like those Fat Man nukes. Yes, very similar to that, except on a slightly larger scale. It's not shoulder fired. Vinny Williams says, any more silly Baldman animations might entice the Cartoon Network to sponsor this page. Whoever it is modeled on must be having a massive ego trip. It's actually, fun fact, it's not modeled on anybody. That's the point of the avatar, is that it could be anybody. And the one that you're, again, the bald guy you guys are seeing on the screen here is actually modeled not after any one human. It's a completely original creation. Unstinkable says, wouldn't be surprised if their, quote, massive offensive has already stalled. Yeah, in fact, we have seen some reports. Well, we've seen conflicting reports. We've seen reports of Russians taking territory in some areas and the Ukrainians repelling them in other areas. So, again, kind of mixed reports. I would say, though, with a high degree of certainty that offensive, that second phase offensive has begun in the Donbass. Not Pocky says, will Russian Arctic all nukes be made of wood like half their explosives are? I'm not exactly sure. However, I would imagine that they might have some issues in that department. Sam says, I think Putin will need to use at least 1 or 2 nukes to prove to the world that his nuclear threat is real. Again, that's the risk here that we're running, guys, is that by ignoring these threats that he might actually use, one or even 2 of these weapons, there's been speculation it could be Kiev and Mariupol, Lviv and Kiev. There's been a lot of speculation going around as to how he might carry out using those strikes. Again, or using those munitions. Again, we hope that it doesn't happen. As Zal says, Russia will stage a false flag nuke attack. That's also a possibility that people have been speaking about. Again, this narrative building here is leading possibly to something like that. We hope not. Tiger Eye 912 says, "Lol, great job, Nemico." Well, thank you so much, Tiger Eye. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Liminal says, the avatar is creeping me out, but the narration is top-notch. Well, thank you so much, Liminal, for that. Again, I don't believe my narration is top-notch. I believe I have a lot to improve using the clutch word and the lost night, some stuff like that. Again, my pronunciation has some room to improve as well. However, at 100,000 subs, I'm planning to do a face reveal, and at that point, we might no longer need the avatar. However, the VTuber thing, I think some people are digging it. Mimi says they will want something significant by May 9th. Yeah, that's the theory here. That's the theory, is that they want to get this concluded by May 9th. Are they going to be able to pull that off within the next, 12, 14 days, I think it is, until May 9th? That remains to be seen. Patty Whack says, "Hi, Nemico. Love my shirt. Thank you. Dasha is such a pretty kitty." Thank you so much, Patty Whack, for those kind words and the support. I'm so glad you like the shirt and the design. Dasha is indeed a very pretty kitty. Throw111 says, "I heard rumors of aircraft attempting to enter Russian airspace. I know they shot down the drone. Do we have any other news of this? I actually don't have any information on Ukrainian aircraft entering Russian airspace. However, if I hear any confirmed reports of that, that are, again, not compromising any operational security for the Ukrainians, I will totally bring that information to you guys as soon as we get it." Mimi says they had no respect for the nuclear power plants, which was concerning. Indeed, that was very concerning, especially, as we saw the battle for Zaporizhia take place. That was really concerning. We didn't really have much footage of the Battle of Chernobyl. However, I mean, it has been stated that the radiation has been, again, this is confirmed, that there is increases in radiation in the zone and that there was leaks at certain radioactive material storage facilities in that area. Again, we're actually waiting on a report from the IAEA. Hopefully that will come out later this week or early next week that will shed some light on that situation a little bit further so I can bring you guys those updates here. Scout says, "To me, NATO is involved. They are supplying all the weapons." Yeah, and so that's really like the big the big risk here again, is that Russia now basically sees the U.S. and NATO as directly involved in Ukraine. And in some ways, you'd argue that they are. Again, regarding all the munitions, the lethal aid that's been sent in, not just that, but the training and the intel support that's being provided. The intelligence support that's being provided to Ukraine by Western allies is immense. Unstinkable sent over a video, he says, on Discord here. I've actually seen this video with the look over of that Russian Orlan drone. I'll show a little footage of it here though, quick. Stand by here while I get where am I going here? Here we go. Here's again that video of them tearing down that Russian Orlan drone and showing how they're built there. You can see a Canon DSLR. I believe it's a DSLR camera they got there hooked up, basically in just a rig. Trying to keep it as cheap as possible. You can see that Canon camera there. Again, I'm sure quite a few of you have seen that footage by now. Unstinkable, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, so I guess that's a Nikon. In that one, they used a Nikon camera, and again, that plastic bottle fuel tank we've seen in a few of the other ones as well. Todor, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Much appreciated. House Virgo says, Nemico Network, Putin has large tariffs on him from Ukraine pipeline. We're told he's trying to capture gas mines in the Black Sea, so he won't have to pay. Interesting. That's actually the first I've heard of that. I'll have to take a look into that. Commandeer says it's a Nikon. The one that they use is around $350. Interesting. Yeah, we saw a one that was using a Canon DSLR camera in another video. I believe that was actually by operator Starsky, if I'm not mistaken. Another video actually sent over by Unstinkable here. I think it would be a interesting one to show you guys here. This shows what is reportedly another a video of a Ukrainian MiG-29 taking off while the airfield is being shelled. You can see the smoke rising there. You can see him. You can see that MiG-29 pilot taking off there. As shells are coming in there, you can see that shell detonating there. Very stark footage there. Access Denied says, it's still the QA segment I spaced out. Anyways, is it true Russia has deployed dolphins to protect their Black Sea naval base? I actually heard that same report earlier. If that is true, I will 110% be bringing you guys that in a report at some point. That would definitely be an interesting development. However, at this time, that is unconfirmed. Still waiting to get some information on that. And Access Denied, thank you so much again for tuning in tonight. That is going to end our Q&A for tonight. Thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight for this evening's report on the war in Ukraine. Again, it means a lot to me, guys, that you take some time out of your evening to come and get your information and your reporting here from us here on the stream. Again, I wish it could be under better circumstances. It's very unfortunate, the events that are taking place there in Ukraine during this time, during this war. Again, though, I thank every single person that tuned in to tonight's stream. If you guys haven't already, hit the like button. It's the best way to get the algorithm's attention. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to get notified when new streams or new videos go live. Speaking of which, we have a lot of new videos coming down the pipeline for you guys in the coming weeks. Can't wait to show you guys some of that content, so stay tuned for that. If you're following along on Twitch, make sure to hit that follow button. I love my Twitch community. You guys are awesome over there. I'm glad to have every single one of you guys tuning in. It's awesome. If any of you are interested in any of the links to any of our sources or any of the information that we've talked about here today, there's two places you can find that stuff. One in the description below the stream or the video, depending on how you're watching this. And two is over on our Discord server in the many different channels that we have set up to cover this ongoing conflict. The Discord server, again, you can find that in a link in the description below. That's discord.gg/Nemico. Okay, everybody's welcome to join over there on the server. Make sure you read the server rules before you start contributing. If you want by far the quickest source of information on Ukraine, I would say our Discord server, again, by far is the fastest way to get information on what's going on, to what's going on in Ukraine, and not just in Ukraine, but on a kind of a broader scale here involved in this conflict. Again, if you would like to support Ukraine, on our 24/7 cam stream, there's a QR code. You can scan that to donate directly to Ukraine. In the description below this video, you can find links where you can donate directly to many different charities in Ukraine, as well as our Shirts for Ukraine fundraiser, which we are running now. All of the profits from our merch store over, again, on the Nemico merch store are going to Amnesty International's Ukraine Crisis Fund. We have a number of designs listed over there on the website. We'd love you guys to take a look at those. Again, all of our videos that are Ukraine related, if you notice on our channel, are listed under that UNICEF fundraiser. You guys can actually donate directly to UNICEF through those fundraisers on all of our videos that are uploaded. Speaking of videos, if you missed tonight's report, we upload every report a few hours after it's live to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Nemico Network. So if you happen to miss the report or it's not on your time schedule, you can always be able to check there to get updated on what is going on. Stay tuned. Coming up soon, we have some more open panel community discussions slated for you guys. I also have a few days slated where I'm going to be hopping in and giving you guys some all-day reports this week. We'll be, again, hanging out and kind of going in depth on some of the things that have been going on in Ukraine in this conflict, as well as, again, those videos that we have coming down the pipeline for you guys. I'm really excited to be bringing you guys some of that new content. Again, stay tuned for that in the future. Again, want to give a shout out to everybody that tuned in tonight. I want to give a shout out to my mods, both here in the live chats and over on the Discord. You guys are awesome. You deserve a round of applause. Again, I want to give a round of thanks to everybody, all of our intel analysts, our radar analysts, our radio analysts, our cyber analysts, everybody over in the Discord, the guys tracking naval radars, all that stuff. I want to give you guys a big round of applause. It's because of you that we're able to aggregate all this information. It's because of you that we're able to provide this service that we provide here for you guys. Again, our 24/7 cam stream is up 24/7. Sometimes it does go down for maintenance, guys. But after this report is done, we will be switching back over to our 24/7 cam stream. It will take me a few minutes to get all the cameras back up and operational. We'll be making a lot of changes to that in the coming weeks and days, as we have been. This is kind of a constantly evolving operation here that we are undertaking, and we're always improving and looking for ways that we can, again, bring you guys a better experience and not only improve our reporting, but improve things like the videos we bring you, improve things like the 24/7 cam stream, etc. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Again, for our Ukraine War Report, our nightly report for April the 27th of 2022. Until next time, guys, you've been watching Nemico Network. Stand by.
Something that will change our daily lives, that will change history.